Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into the world of René Descartes.
Oh, exciting.
This guy was a 17th century philosopher, and he had a huge key impact
Mm-hmm.
on how we see the world, like even today.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
I know, you might be thinking, philosophy, what's that got to do with me?
Right.
But get this, Descartes' ideas, they influenced fields like robotics.
Really?
Yeah, and machine learning.
I would never have thought of that.
We're going to uncover how one person from centuries ago
Hmm.
can still shape cutting-edge technology.
So not just some dusty old philosopher then.
Nope, not at all.
It's fascinating how Descartes, he wasn't even a scientist in the traditional sense,
Right.
but he laid the groundwork for what we now call modern science.
That's pretty impressive.
He believed that mathematics was the key to unlocking the secrets of the universe.
Okay, so he thought math was important, so what? What's
Yeah.
so groundbreaking about that?
Imagine a time when most explanations for natural phenomena were rooted in, mysticism or ancient texts. Okay, yeah. Descartes was different. He proposed that even the most complex truths could be broken down
Mm-hmm.
and understood through simple, self-evident principles,
Okay.
all through the lens of mathematics. It was revolutionary.
So he was basically saying, forget the magic, show me the equations.
Precisely. It was a radical shift towards measurable physical causes, a move toward what we now call, the scientific method. This emphasis on mathematical explanations, it was a defining characteristic of his work, and it led to some incredible insights.
Okay, so math was his thing. But how did that translate into real-world impact? I mean, we're talking robotics and machine learning.
Take the Cartesian coordinate system, for example.
Yeah.
The X, Y, and Z coordinates you learned in school.
Yeah.
That was Descartes' brainchild. He gave us a way to map out space mathematically.
Wait, so that basic graph paper we all used is because of this guy?
Exactly. It seems simple now, but think about it. Being able to represent points in space using numbers allowed us to connect algebra and geometry. It meant we could analyze shapes with equations
Yeah.
and suddenly visualize abstract concepts in a whole new light.
Yeah.
This had a ripple effect across various fields.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this goes way beyond basic math. But how does a coordinate system from the 1600s connect to something as advanced as robotics?
Well, think about how robots navigate and interact with their environment.
Mhm.
They need to understand spatial relationships, distances, and trajectories.
Mhm.
All of that relies on the ability to represent positions in space. And guess what?
What?
The Cartesian coordinate system is the foundation for that.
Wow, that's actually pretty mind-blowing. So it's like the DNA of spatial awareness for machines.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it's not just robotics.
Right.
The Cartesian coordinate system is crucial in computer graphics, engineering, and even machine learning, where it's used to represent data points and analyze patterns.
Hmm.
Descartes gave us the mathematical language to describe the physical world. And that language is still spoken by some of the most advanced technologies today.
So this guy basically gave machines a way to see the world. That's insane. But
Yeah.
wasn't he also known for, something about the universe being a giant machine?
Ah, yes. His concept of the mechanistic universe.
A what?
Mechanistic universe.
Okay.
Descartes believed that the universe operates under predictable mathematical laws, much like a giant clockwork mechanism.
Okay.
This idea laid the foundation for classical mechanics,
Mm-hmm.
inspiring scientists to find mathematical models for everything from planetary motion to the behavior of light.
It's incredible how one person's ideas could, ripple through centuries.
I know.
It makes you wonder how he even came up with all of this back then.
Well, to understand that, we need to delve into Descartes' approach to knowledge itself, his scientific method.
Okay.
He was a champion of skepticism, questioning everything and breaking down complex problems into their smallest parts.
So he wasn't just taking things at face value. He was all about digging deeper and figuring things out for himself.
Precisely. Descartes believed in building knowledge from the ground up,
Okay.
starting with self-evident truths
Right.
and using logic and reason to arrive at more complex conclusions. This emphasis on empirical evidence
Mm-hmm.
and systematic inquiry laid the foundation for the scientific method as we know it today.
So he was the OG science nerd,
Yeah.
setting the stage for how we approach knowledge and discovery even now.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how much influence he had.
And his influence didn't stop at physics and mathematics.
Oh,
Descartes also explored other fields, including biology and medicine.
interesting.
Well, some of his ideas in these areas turned out to be, Incorrect. His willingness to push the boundaries of knowledge paved the way for future discoveries.
So he wasn't afraid to be wrong sometimes. That's kind of refreshing to hear, especially in a world where everyone seems to have all the answers.
That's an important point. Descartes showed that true intellectual exploration involves taking risks, challenging assumptions, and being willing to admit when you're wrong.
Right.
That's a key part of the scientific process,
Right.
and it's what ultimately leads to progress.
Yeah.
But even though some of his ideas about the human body as a literal machine were off the mark,
Yeah.
they still had a lasting impact.
How so?
His work in these areas, though flawed, sparked further inquiry into the workings of living systems. It forced people to consider the complexities of the human body and the mind-body connection. It opened up whole new avenues of research.
So even his mistakes helped to move science forward. It's kind of poetic in a way.
It is, and it speaks to the fact that science is a constantly evolving process. We build on the work of those who came before us, refining our understanding and correcting our errors along the way.
This is all pretty fascinating, but I have to admit, my brain is starting to feel a little full.
Sure, I understand.
Can we pause here for a moment and recap what we've learned so far? I want to make sure I'm following all of this.
Of course. Taking a moment to synthesize information is key to deep understanding. What are some of the key takeaways that stand out to you so far?
Well, first off, I never realized how much influence Descartes had on modern science. I mean, I knew about the coordinate system, but I had no idea it was so fundamental to so many fields.
That's a common misconception. His impact is often subtle,
Yeah.
but pervasive.
And then there's the whole mechanistic universe idea, which is kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. It's like he saw the matrix before anyone else did.
His mechanistic view was certainly ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And while we've moved beyond some aspects of that view,
Right.
it laid the groundwork for centuries of scientific exploration.
Right. And his emphasis on logic, reason, and questioning everything that's basically the foundation of how we do science today, he was basically the godfather of the scientific method.
A fitting title. And even though some of his specific ideas in fields like biology were later disproven, his willingness to push boundaries and challenge established thinking is a valuable lesson in itself. It shows us that science is about constantly questioning, testing, and refining our understanding of the world.
This is all pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah, it is.
But I have to say, I'm starting to see Descartes in a whole new light. He wasn't just some dusty old philosopher.
Right.
He was a visionary who helped shape the world we live in today.
That's a great way to put it. And we're just scratching the surface.
Right.
There's still so much to explore about Descartes' legacy
Wow.
and how his ideas continue to shape our world.
Okay, well, now I'm even more intrigued to keep going.
Yeah.
But maybe we should take a quick break and come back for part 2,
Okay.
where we can dive deeper into some of those other aspects of his work.
Sounds like a plan. We'll pick up right where we left off and explore how Descartes' ideas influenced later thinkers like Isaac Newton
Okay.
and continue to resonate in modern science and technology. Looking forward to it.
Me too.
Welcome back.
Okay, so before the break,
Yeah.
we were talking about how some of Descartes' ideas about the human body
Right.
were, let's just say, a little off.
Yes. His analogy of the body as a purely mechanical machine,
Mm-hmm.
it was groundbreaking for its time.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it proved to be an oversimplification.
Okay.
But even though his specific theories in biology didn't entirely hold up,
Right.
his approach sparked important questions
Yeah.
about the relationship between the mind and body,
Ah.
questions that continue to fascinate scientists and philosophers today.
It's like he threw a big, thought-provoking wrench into the works,
Yeah,
even if the wrench itself wasn't perfectly shaped.
a very apt analogy.
Mm.
But to fully appreciate Descartes' impact, we need to look beyond his individual theories
Yeah.
and consider the broader shift in thinking that he, ushered in.
Hmm.
He helped to move us away from a worldview dominated by mysticism and authority towards a more rational, evidence-based approach to understanding the world.
So he was like the ultimate skeptic, always demanding proof
Yes.
and questioning assumptions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this skeptical, questioning spirit,
Yeah.
it became a cornerstone of the scientific revolution.
Gotcha.
In fact, many historians consider Descartes to be one of the key figures who bridged the gap between the Renaissance and the Enlightenment.
That's a pretty big deal.
Mhm.
It's like he helped to set the stage for the modern world.
He certainly played a significant role.
Yeah.
And to see how his ideas continue to evolve and influence later thinkers,
Uh-huh.
we need to look no further than Sir Isaac Newton.
Ah, yes. The apple falling on the head guy.
Yeah,
He was a genius in his own right.
undoubtedly. But even Newton built upon the foundations laid by Descartes. Newton took that mechanistic view of the universe, the idea that everything operates according to predictable mathematical laws,
Hmm.
and he fleshed it out in incredible detail with
Yeah.
his laws of motion and universal gravitation.
So Descartes provided the blueprint. Yeah.
And Newton built the house, so to speak.
A great way to put it.
Hmm.
Newton refined and expanded upon Descartes' work,
Right.
but he wouldn't have been able to do so without the groundwork that Descartes had laid.
It makes you wonder what would have happened if Descartes hadn't come along.
Yeah.
Would we still have figured all of this stuff out?
It's impossible to say for sure, of course.
Right.
But it's clear that Descartes' ideas had a profound impact on the trajectory of science.
Okay.
His emphasis on mathematics, his systematic approach to knowledge, and his willingness to challenge established dogma all helped to create a fertile ground for the scientific breakthroughs that followed.
So what you're saying is that Descartes was kind of a big deal.
To put it mildly,
Okay.
his legacy extends far beyond the specific theories he proposed.
Yeah.
He helped to shape the very way we think about the world
Uh-huh.
and the tools we use to explore it.
That's pretty remarkable considering he lived like over 400 years ago.
It is.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the enduring power of ideas.
Descartes showed us that even abstract concepts like mathematics can have a profound impact on the real world.
And to think it all started with this guy sitting in a room, probably with a quill and parchment, just thinking about stuff.
That image perfectly captures the essence of Descartes' legacy.
Hmm.
It all began with the power of thought, the courage to question, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge.
Okay, I'm convinced Descartes was a rock star,
He was.
but I still have one nagging question.
Okay, what's that?
We've been talking about all these high-level concepts,
Mhm.
but how does this stuff actually connect to my life?
That's a great question, and it gets to the heart of why we're doing this deep dive. On the surface, Descartes might seem like a distant figure, a historical footnote,
Yeah.
but his ideas are woven into the fabric of our lives in ways we might not even realize.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
Give me some concrete examples.
Think about the technology you use every day. Your smartphone, your computer, the GPS in your car. All of these devices rely on algorithms that process information and make calculations based on the principles that Descartes helped to establish.
So you're saying that every time I use Google Maps,
Yeah.
there's a little bit of Descartes working behind the scenes?
Exactly. The algorithms that calculate the fastest route, the software that renders the map on your screen, all of these systems rely on the mathematical language and the spatial reasoning that Descartes helped to develop.
Wow, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
It's like his ideas are embedded in the very technology that shapes our daily lives.
And it goes beyond technology.
Oh.
The way we approach problem solving, the way we analyze information, the way we structure our thinking.
Okay.
All of these processes are influenced by the legacy of Descartes and the scientific revolution that he helped to spark.
So it's not just about equations and algorithms. It's
Yeah.
about a way of thinking, a mindset that he helped to shape.
Precisely. And that mindset,
Okay.
the emphasis on critical thinking, skepticism, and the pursuit of evidence-based knowledge,
Yeah.
it's more relevant than ever in today's world.
Especially in an age of information overload, where it's so easy to get caught up in misinformation and fake news.
Exactly.
We need that Cartesian spirit of critical inquiry now more than ever.
Absolutely. Descartes showed us that we don't have to blindly accept what we're told.
Right.
We have the power to question, to investigate, and to arrive at our own conclusions based on reason and evidence.
This has been incredibly insightful. I feel like I have a much deeper appreciation for Descartes and his legacy now. But I'm curious, are there any aspects of his work that have been particularly controversial or debated over the years?
That's a great question. And it leads us to another fascinating dimension of Descartes' legacy. His ideas, while groundbreaking, were not without their critics and controversies.
Interesting.
And exploring those debates,
Yeah.
it can give us an even richer understanding of his impact on Western thought.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
Good.
Let's dive into those controversies in part 3.
Okay.
I can't wait to see what other surprises Descartes has in store for us. All right, so we're back and ready to unpack some of those controversies surrounding Descartes.
Yes, let's get into it.
I have to admit, I'm a little surprised to hear that there's, controversy.
Oh, yeah.
I thought his ideas were pretty universally accepted.
Well, that's where things get even more interesting.
Oh.
See, while Descartes' work was undeniably groundbreaking,
Uh-huh.
it also sparked a lot of debate and criticism,
Yeah.
even during his own lifetime.
Hmm.
Some of these debates, continue to resonate even today.
Okay, now I'm really curious. What
Yeah.
kind of controversies are we talking about here? Did he, like, predict the Earth was flat or something?
Nothing quite that dramatic,
Okay.
but one of the most significant points of contention
Hmm.
centered around his concept of mind-body dualism.
Mind, body, what?
Dualism.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about, he viewed the universe as this giant machine
Mm-hmm.
operating under predictable laws?
Well, he applied that same mechanistic thinking to the human body,
Uh-huh.
seeing it as separate from the mind or the soul.
So he was basically saying that our bodies are like machines,
Yeah.
but our minds are something else entirely.
Exactly. He believed that the mind was this non-physical entity
Okay.
that interacted with the body through the pineal gland.
The what?
Pineal gland.
Hmm.
This idea, while influential,
Yeah.
raised a lot of questions about the nature of consciousness,
Right.
free will,
Uh-huh.
and the relationship between the mental and physical realms.
It sounds like he opened up a whole can of philosophical worms with that one.
He did.
Huh.
And those worms are still wriggling around today.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Think about it. If the mind is separate from the body, how do they interact?
Yeah, that's a good question.
How can a non-physical entity influence a physical one?
Hmm.
These are questions that, neuroscientists and philosophers are still grappling with.
So even though some of his specific ideas about the mind and body have been challenged, he still managed to, spark a conversation that's going on centuries later. That's pretty impressive.
It is. And it highlights another important aspect of Descartes' legacy,
Okay, what's that?
his willingness to ask these big fundamental questions.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he didn't always have the answers,
Right.
he wasn't afraid to tackle, the deepest mysteries of existence.
Yeah.
And in doing so, he pushed the boundaries of human thought and inspired generations of thinkers to follow in his footsteps.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this guy earned his reputation as a philosophical heavyweight.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that some of the debates surrounding his work,
Mm-hmm.
they continue today.
They do.
Can you give me an example of a modern day controversy that has roots in Descartes' thinking?
Certainly. Think about the field of artificial intelligence.
Okay.
One of the central questions in AI is whether machines can truly think
Right.
or be conscious.
Like in the Terminator?
Well, maybe not that dramatic.
Ah.
But it's a serious question.
Yeah.
This question, it directly echoes Descartes' ideas about the separation of mind and body.
Okay.
If the mind is non-physical, like Descartes believed,
Yeah.
could it potentially be replicated in a machine?
So are we talking about robots becoming self-aware and starting their own philosophical societies?
Haha. Well, it might sound like science fiction.
I know, but it's a little scary.
But these are real questions that, scientists and ethicists are seriously considering as AI becomes more sophisticated.
That's true.
And it all circles back to those fundamental questions
Yeah.
about the nature of consciousness and the mind-body relationship
Right.
that Descartes first raised centuries ago.
Okay, I'm officially mind blown. So even though we've moved beyond some of Descartes' specific theories,
Yeah.
his ideas continue to shape how we think about some of the biggest questions facing humanity. It's like his legacy is still unfolding.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it's a testament to the enduring power of ideas. Descartes' work reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge
Yeah.
is a never-ending journey.
Right.
We build on the insights of those who came before us,
Yeah.
refine our understanding, and continue to ask new questions, even if those questions don't have easy answers.
This has been an incredible journey.
It has.
We've gone from basic coordinate systems
I know, right?
to the nature of consciousness and the future of artificial intelligence.
It's all connected.
I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on Descartes and his impact on the world.
And that's the beauty of the deep dive, isn't it?
It is.
We take these seemingly disparate pieces of information and we connect them to reveal a bigger picture, a deeper understanding of how ideas shape our world and our lives.
So, to wrap things up,
Yeah.
what's the one key takeaway you hope our listeners walk away with today?
I think the most important lesson from Descartes is the power of critical thinking. He showed us that we don't have to accept things at face value.
Right.
We have the power to question,
Uh-huh.
to investigate,
Yeah.
and to arrive at our own conclusions based on reason and evidence.
Okay.
And that spirit of inquiry, that willingness to challenge assumptions and explore new ideas, it's more crucial than ever in today's complex world.
Well said.
Thank you.
So to all our listeners out there,
Yes,
keep questioning, keep exploring,
absolutely.
and never stop pushing the boundaries of your own understanding.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the one to spark the next philosophical revolution.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into the legacy of René Descartes.
I hope everyone enjoyed it.
We hope you enjoyed this journey, and we'll catch you next time for another fascinating exploration.
See you then.
Until then, keep those brains buzzing.